So, hello everybody. Welcome back to our channel again. It's great to be with you all again. My name is Allie.
And I'm Stephen, and we once again with the Mindset Junkies.
So it's February already. I can't believe where the year has gone so far. And here we are on episode 7. And this week we want to talk to you about beliefs. This is going to be in 2 parts, as this is a topic that affects us all to some degree, and we really want to try and do it justice. So what is a belief? So a belief is something you believe to be true and with absolute certainty. And it's something that is true or exists, whether there is proof or evidence to the contrary. So core beliefs really are assumptions that we make about ourselves, others, or situations we come into contact with, or we don't necessarily even have to come into contact with them. So I would say perhaps religion is a really good belief that we kind of all have at some point in our life to some degree. So these core beliefs are the very things that we strongly believe within ourselves, and they're based around our values and determine how we take in information and generally how we see the world around us. So core beliefs are good things to have because they're the things that cause us to have arguments or discussions or meaningful conversations with other people because they may have varying beliefs on different subjects. So having beliefs is a really good subject matter to bounce ideas around with, but just have a different perception of. I'm struggling with my teeth today, Stephen. Sorry about that.
It's all right. Yeah, so I think with beliefs, I definitely get your point. You know, they're useful because they basically give us that opinion, don't they? And you mentioned religion. So what we're not saying by religion there is that you must be religious. It's like having a core belief that you're not religious is also a core belief as well, that you're atheist and so on.
Absolutely. What I'm sort of saying is that, you know, it's something that we believe in where, you know, the level of, you know, information that substantiates it can be proven or not proven. It's just something that you take into your belief system that you have a very, very strong wedded kind of like emotive feeling towards.
Yeah. So these things, they can arise from, it could be things that we hear, it could be things that we see, it could be things that have happened to us in the past, it could be things that we read, things that we think about. It could be from all these different areas, and it's basically it forms an opinion that we personally hold to be true. Now, what logic suggests is that quite a lot of the beliefs that we at least have of core beliefs may have arisen from when we were children. And it's things that we may have actually seen our parent or guardian, grandparents doing, or the way that they was behaving, that these became a belief of ours. Now, that's not to say that you can potentially change them or you develop new beliefs over time. I know that's definitely been the case for me. But it's like, in terms of kind of those coming from childhood, it's like, what would happen from there is that by the time you've actually become an adult, you basically start to develop that definitive view on basically what that belief may be. So you could end up potentially being quite stubborn around that belief, which could be a good thing. It could also potentially be a bad thing. You basically just saying that, you know, that nobody's going to change my mind about this belief being a good or bad thing. Now, there are a few beliefs that spring to mind here, right? And that there'll be some that some of you listening in here definitely resonate with. So one belief: murder is wrong. Love is good. You should help people in need. You shouldn't lie. You should brush your teeth every day, multiple times a day. You should be nice to people. Giving is better than receiving. Stealing is bad. You need to go to school and get an education. You should get a job. Shouting at others is not nice. So, Allie, is there any of those that, or anything that you want to say on those, or anything that stands out?
Yeah, I mean, these are all beliefs that, you know, my mother and father taught me to sort of like live my life by. Lots of them there really resonate. And I remember when I was a little girl, you know, my dad worked full time. My mum was a nurse. She worked over the night. So as a family, we kind of like really all had to pull together to make the family unit work quite a bit. And in order for me to earn any pocket money, I had to do chores around the house. And I had my list of chores, and my sister had her list of chores. And that was how we contributed to the way that the family life functioned. But they actually instilled really good values and really good, you know, valuable lessons and skills for me, because if I wanted to buy something special for myself, then I would do extra chores. I'd save up my pocket money, and I would save up what I wanted to buy. And I now today still believe that if I had had children of my own, that is a belief that I would have brought into my family life. Whether, you know, there was a family dynamic of people working overnight or whatever, I would still have instilled that belief into my children that, you know, to work, you earn money. And when you earn money, it allows you to actually live and buy the things that you want. And that's a belief that I still hold true today. So, you know, that's for me an example of a really good belief that, you know, is still part of, you know, I've taken into my adult life.
Yeah, and I think it's some great examples there, and I'm the same with the childhood, that there were a lot of things that my mum and dad did that I have taken into my own life of bringing up my two children. The things like doing my best when I'm with them on days out to be present, to actually take them on days out. You know, unfortunately, there are some children out there whose parents don't do that kind of thing, to essentially give them the best possible life, and as well. I'm sure that we're going to get onto the negative, the reverse of this as well. But there are also some beliefs there, that some things that I saw that I'm like, well, I don't necessarily want that either. And one of those for me was some of the arguments that was going on between my parents. I wouldn't want my children to experience that at all in some degree. So anyway, I think they both have.
Completely resonate with that as well. I mean, there are some things that I saw, you know, my parents do or talk about that, you know, I didn't know whether they were good or bad when I was a child, but now as I grew older and I looked back on those things, I thought that that's not something that I would want to do, or that's not something that I want to live my life with. But that was something that they had both brought up as part of their childhood. So, you know, sometimes it's a generational kind of, you know, skip or modification of some of the beliefs as well. So, you know, it's interesting to see how, you know, my nephews, for example, what sort of belief system they've got based on the upbringing that they had, with all the technology and all the access to information that wasn't available when I was a kid. So there's so many different factors, especially over the generations, that could either change the belief or actually modify it a little bit more. You know, sex before marriage. My mother and father lived in the time where, you know, that was a belief. You just didn't do it. But, you know, when I grew up, it was, you know, one of those things that was like, you know, you do what you want to do. It's not, you don't have to live by that sort of hard and fast belief any longer. So, you know, they do change over generations, but sometimes some of those generational changes can actually be, to a degree, bad. And that's down to the access to lots and lots of different information just at the click of a button at the moment, where you've got that instant information that already sets a belief system going in your own mind about, you know, something or other. Whereas in my day, information wasn't just that readily available when I was a child.
Yeah, and quite shocking in mine too. I look back to dial-up internet. Wow, yeah.
I think that when we're children, though, that, you know, our belief system is just is massively innocent. You know, we're not selfish. We don't have any bad thoughts or bad feelings about anything. And especially when you've been brought up in a very sort of like loving environment and you have the best childhood that you possibly can, you know, your parents would keep you away from fear and pain and hurt and, you know, all of those sorts of situations where you can have traumatic experiences that actually start to play on your belief system. I don't know any children at school that when I went to school that were bullied, for example. When I was a little girl, my belief system was really still quite innocent until I was, at least 10, 12 years old. But it's not like that for children nowadays.
Yeah, and the thing is that this is kind of where one of the problems lies with core beliefs, that, having that innocence as a child, we're seeing things, we're hearing things, we're experiencing things. And you mentioned there about the technology, Allie, of how things have really boomed in this space, and that when we was younger, we didn't have that. So it's then, what is it that our children are being exposed to that may actually be shaping some of their beliefs? And
yes,
the thing with this is then, it's the fact that a belief can basically create or it can destroy. Yeah. And it basically, our beliefs over time, they can change, but then also they may remain stagnant as well. And this is the thing that, particularly when it comes to our younger generation, we need to think about what it is we're actually doing, what is it we're saying, what is it we're potentially teaching them, and what are we essentially giving them access to. Because it's quite simply, something that we've believed in for years can suddenly do a full 360. And it could be because of many factors. So there's irrefutable proof that basically provides evidence is a good example. So it could be the words or actions of somebody towards you. So you mentioned there about being bullied. So people being bullied in school. It could be traumatic experiences. It could be toxic relationships. It could be a whole list of things. It could also be some things that we may see as quite minor. And I'll give one prime example here. So when I was growing up, my dad was self-employed and my mum was working part-time because she was spending most of the time with us. And because of the nature of the business, he was a carpenter joiner. The income wasn't always there. It was very cyclical. And as a result of that, there was a lot of times when financially there was a lot of struggle. And I think that was evident in some tensions that was in the house, hence some of the arguments that I'd mentioned before and things like that. Now, that's kind of instilled a little bit of belief in me around the need for security, because that's one of my values, security, comfort, that kind of thing, because I saw that level of struggle. And it's like, well, I don't want myself, I don't want my wife, I don't want my children to go through that. Now, that's good because it's shaped it that, I have to do my utmost within my career to kind of provide that security. But where the flip side and what I see the bad side is that in kind of pursuing other journeys, it's like I'm very, very risk averse in that sense. So like, for instance, one of my real bugbears is when I come to book a flight, right? So I'm on the airline ticket thing and I'm like, do I go at this time? Do I go at that time? Do I get more time over that side? Do I get home earlier? Then what about the seat? Where's going to be the best seat that I can go and sit? It's where I think my nature for over-analysis on certain things comes from. It's this need for security. So, this is where it's kind of really important to consider that, having beliefs can be a really powerful thing, but then also when we tune into them so much, it can also drag us down a little bit as well. And it's trying to find that balance.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we're talking an awful lot about some of the sort of experiences that happen in our life that, trigger certain thoughts. And we've talked a little bit about the, our childhood perhaps being an opportunity to have us cosseted a little bit more, where our innocence prevailed a little bit longer in life than perhaps it does do for children nowadays. And we've sort of said that a lot of that's got to do with just the general access to social media, the internet, click of a button and anything that you want to know. And reams of it is available to you. So you have that opportunity to have an opinion or have a belief about something. And then there's lots and lots of information that might actually completely refute that as well. But one of the things that really worries me quite a lot about our modern age is the words and the actions of other people that can actually change your belief system to a really detrimental, in a detrimental way, and to a really, really punishing degree. You know, as a little girl, you know, my mum always sort of went on about my blonde hair and my big brown eyes and, oh, a pretty girl and all the rest of it. But then when I got older, and I would find people that would mock me for a lot of these things and, you know, would want to put me down, I would not listen to my mum's voice in my head any longer. And I would want to listen to someone else's opinion of me. And then because someone else said it and then another person would say it, it was reinforcing the bad stories. And that's when you start to actually take it into your psyche, into your mindset, and you start to really question, oh, my mum said this, but that was a long time ago. And these people are saying the complete opposite now. Therefore, that's got to be true.
It's a sad world, isn't it? It's a sad world we live in, because as a parent, that's probably one of the most things that I'm fearful of my children growing up. It's like, how are the things that other people say and do to them going to influence them in their growing up? Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's that kind of thing that part's completely out of our control. But then what is in our control is how we teach them to respond to it and how we respond to it ourselves.
Yeah. You know? And, you know, it's difficult as a grown-up to, you know, be able to sort of like stand in the garden of your own mind and actually repel some of the negativity. And, you know, we've all heard a lot of the stuff that sort of said, you're not good enough, you'll never get promotion, you're too fat, you're ugly. And there's all these other things that you're having to compare yourself with. That, you know, it's very easy for you to look in the mirror and say, yes, I am all these unworthy things because I don't look like that Instagram model, or I've not got that promotion at work as quickly as everybody else did, or, you know, there's lots and lots of barriers and challenges that are all put up against us, that it's so easy for us to actually take that into our own belief system and actually make that our belief system, as opposed to some of the very positive things that we were told earlier on in our lives. And I do definitely think that is a symptom of the society that we live in today.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Unfortunately. So, and I know this episode in particular is intended to focus on those negative beliefs, because we wanted to first arm you. Everybody will have negative beliefs, right? Imposter syndrome. We've covered it previously, and, you know, this is a really, really hefty thing, right? I remember I went on a session led by Google called I'm Remarkable, and 9 out of the 10 people on there put their hand up and said, yeah, at some point I've had these thoughts, and probably quite regularly actually, that, you know, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, and all that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So what we want to do is first tackle the negative beliefs, and then we will go on to the positive stuff and how we can begin to switch those out between them, because, you know, the more positive self-talk that we have, the better. So what we're going to do first, so we've just got some detail down as to what negative beliefs you may typically be telling yourself, right? So one is that you may be telling yourself that you're ugly. You may be saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not as good as them. It may be, I'll never amount to anything. It might be, people don't like me. It might be, I can't do anything right. I'll never get better at this. I'm not a confident person. There's absolutely no way that I can do that. I'm stuck. I'm unlovable. There's something wrong with me. I never get things right. They'll leave me in the end, so it doesn't matter. Everyone just uses me. The world is evil. People only like interesting people, and I'm not interesting. I'm just an anxious person. I'm negative. I'm different from everybody else. I'm stupid. You know, you just ask yourself, like, if you think back as long as you can, how many of those have you actually told yourself at one point in time?
All of them.
I know I certainly am all of them as well.
All of them.
And yeah. It's crazy that whenever a situation arises, or whenever there's a challenge that we're faced with, then we tend to throw up these excuses, these beliefs, just because it's an easy cop-out for us to basically make up that reason as to why we're not good enough. And oh, it doesn't matter, I'm going to fail anyway, so I might as well not bother. Do you know, that kind of thing. So, you know, these negative core beliefs, they're just examples of, say, typical things that we strongly believe about ourselves when we suffer from, it could be low self-esteem, it could be a lack of confidence, it could even be when we're suffering from a mental health perspective, maybe even we're just having a down day. But, you know, those days sometimes happen. It's perfectly okay. You know, not everybody can be top of the game every single day, and that's okay. You know, and it's easy to see how these core beliefs about ourselves can lead to much more serious consequences here. Like if we constantly tell ourselves that these beliefs are true, then this is where we begin to enter the territory of potential depression and anxiety and other mental health issues and challenges. So this problem, it starts when we basically truly begin to think that these are us. And there was a few of those beliefs that I mentioned that started with I am. Now, one of the things in the meditation and mindfulness teachings that I do is that is a condition that we actually need to change, because when we're starting to look in this other mindset, this positive mindset, we need to recognize that we are not our feelings. We are not our emotions. It's like, instead it's I feel. So that's what we should be telling ourselves instead. Like, I feel that I'm not good enough, because then at least we can see it as being just a feeling rather than pointing to ourselves and saying that's who I am, which is much more definitive. So, you know, the thing that I would implore you to do is that if you find that you have negative core beliefs about most aspects of your life, just to start to maybe challenge them in this way. And, you know, that's one way to do it. Instead of saying I am, I feel. And it's even little simple things like I am tired, I am bored, I don't know, it could be anything. Change it to I feel, and just see how that little shift in words that you're telling yourself might actually shift what some of these things are actually doing for basically your mental health, confidence, and all that kind of thing. This is essentially something that is looked at in CBT. So this is how we begin to challenge our beliefs by actually reframing them a little bit into different types of words. The idea is that if you basically identify what your core beliefs are, then in kind of looking at those core beliefs, we can begin to change them. We can make strides towards approaching them differently, doing this thing like around the reframing and so on. Now, I will say completely that this isn't always an easy and comfortable exercise to do, as quite a lot of change isn't. But it's something that when we master our beliefs, when we master our core beliefs, and essentially reprogram ourselves to have more powerful, positive core beliefs, then we will actually be in a much better mental state. And one of the reasons for it being difficult is it's about being honest. And the vast majority of us don't like being honest with ourselves. I was saying to Allie before we recorded this that a lot of these sessions that we're doing, they tend to coincide with some work that I'm doing on some Tony Robbins programs and some of the audiobooks. And this is one of the things that he often talks about, that if you're not brutally honest with yourself, then you just might as well not bother. You might as well just, it's the first step basically that you need to do. You need to be honest with yourself to then instill the change. So, you know, bringing your deep set of core beliefs up, it can be a little bit of a challenge. And with the self-awareness, like we did some meditation type exercises last time out, you know, employing those kind of things along with some journaling can actually help along with this. But yeah, I know that's been quite a lot of me talking about different beliefs and things. But yeah, Alan, if you have anything that you want to add on this topic.
No, I completely agree with you that it is, you are essentially interrupting a pattern of thought, whether it's the words that you're using with yourself or you're allowing other people to say those words to you. And that's what I mean about, you know, have to stand as a guardian to the door of your own mind and watch the language that you're actually having with yourself. but also challenge the language that people are using to you. So, it usually takes something drastic to happen for people to actually want to change their belief system. And they often don't believe it until they see it for themselves, or they have to have a deep emotional connection to something else. So, for example, if you spend your life believing that aliens aren't real, and then you suddenly saw one, I think your belief system would probably change. Of course it would.
I think it most certainly would.
Of course it would. Yeah. So what we want to do next week is we want to talk a little bit about how we can actually change our belief system, especially our limiting beliefs, our negative beliefs, into something that is much more empowering. And what we think it would be a really good idea to do is that if you feel that this is something that's really holding you back, if you resonate with some of the long list of limiting beliefs that Stephen spoke about earlier on, a really good way to get started is to just create a list of all of the negative beliefs that you have. It doesn't matter how big or how small they are, but anything that you feel is actually trapping you, is holding you back. And then talk about all of the, put on another column, a list of all the positive beliefs that you've got. I'm positive that the world is actually a great place. I'm positive of the fact that I actually have got an intelligent mind. I'm positive about the fact that I have a really good heart and that I'm a loving person. These are all massively wonderful attributes that, you have to recognize. And if you have your limiting and if you have your positive beliefs there in front of you on a piece of paper, it's so easy to actually start to see correlation of where I've got this negative belief, but on the other side, I've actually got this corresponding really positive belief. So how can I change the language that I use in one column and turn it into something that feels much, much more empowering? Because when you start to talk to yourself in an empowering way, it's much, much stronger than the words that you're using in your negative sense. So that would be a really, really good place to start for getting into our Empowering Beliefs episode next week.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And one thing I was talking to Allie about was the Tony Robbins sessions that I'd been through, which it coincided. It was this kind of exercise that he was suggesting to do. And it started off with, just really go to town on just the smallest of disempowering belief that you may have and just get it written down. And try to live it and feel it a bit, it'll be uncomfortable, but just that little belief, like, so what does it feel like to have that belief? Like, just think of living it and what it's doing to your life and all that kind of thing, and just really, really feel it. And then go and do it for the positive side.
Yeah.
And then just see how they are different. And what I would like to add to it as well is that reframing. So from the I am to the feel, and just explore that a little bit and understand how when you're writing out what your disempowering beliefs are, what your limiting beliefs are, what does that look like when you begin to reframe them from the I am? Because the I am is definitive. That's saying it's who you are. But as soon as you begin to say it's how I feel, as we know, feelings, emotions, they come and go.
So just to give you an example of how to rephrase things, and then you mentioned earlier on of I am bored, what you could possibly reframe that to say, I feel like I want to do things today that are going to completely fill my whole day with new learnings, new experiences.
Fantastic example.
A really good way to just like reframe something in a much more, but it also gives you an action plan. It's almost like you're giving yourself a call to action as well, that I'm not going to be bored today. I'm actually going to feel like I want to get out there and start filling my day with things that are new and exciting, for example.
Yeah. And there will likely be a lot of these. We all don't just have one or two limiting beliefs and one or two empowering beliefs. So when you are thinking about this exercise and you are looking to reframe and instill the change, then don't be too hard on yourself, right? Just pick a few of those that you want to work with, and then focus on those and be like, right, that feels good. Now I'm going to pick some more. I'm going to go and redo those.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I think, even if you just wanted to look at, even your working life, for example, if that's an area of your life right now that you feel that you really want to change, just focus on that particular area of your life in terms of your negative and your positive beliefs as well. And, that might be a really, really good place to start, rather than, trying to boil the ocean and come up with everything, because that might just be a step too far. It's a really good opportunity to change your story, change your identity.
Yeah, definitely. And I know quite a lot of people that I'm working with, there's a lot of fear out there at the moment. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of blame, and it's naturally because of everything we're being exposed to with the pandemic and things like that, but and potentially been locked up in houses for so long. But yeah, let's begin to change this and start this empowering part of our life.
Fantastic. I look forward to it already. I would say, why don't you and I actually join this little exercise and maybe come up with 3 of our own?
Do you mean now on the call, or
no? No, let's do it for in time for next week's episode, and we can maybe talk about them as well.
Yeah, let's do it. I thought you was putting me on the spot there, Ali.
No.
Struggled.
I can't even think of my one at the moment.
yeah, let's do it.
Just thought, a good way to just share, the fact that we'll go through the exercise as well, and really challenge and put ourselves on the spot as well.
Yeah, I know that I can definitely talk to some. Actually, you know what? To hell with it. I'm going to do one now. So
go for it.
There was about 6 months ago, and it's still a little bit present now, and it's this belief that people will not engage in the things that I am offering. They're not interested in those things, right? That was one of my limiting beliefs. It's like, why would somebody engage with me when we've got the likes of Tony Robbins out there, when we've got the likes of Jack Cornfield out there, who are basically doing the same kind of thing? So Jack Cornfield doing the mindfulness meditation stuff, Tony Robbins doing the mindset piece. It's like, those are like gurus. I cannot possibly compete with them. Whereas it's actually the spin on this is the real personability that we as individuals can bring to the table. So we often look to people like those who are basically the gurus. They are the masters. They've been doing it for years. They've got millions of people who are following them. And we look and think, I cannot possibly compete with that. But what they don't give is, you've got me and Ali sat here on a one-on-one conversation. If you were to drop a message over to us, then you would get us replying to that message, as opposed to Tony's PA or one of his media team, and same with Jack Cornfield and so on. So it's like, in repositioning that belief, it's like I actually have a lot more to offer than them because of that much more personable experience that we can actually go and provide. So, that's a belief. So in summary, the belief was that basically I'm not as good as them. But the actual empowering belief is that I have actually something very unique that I can offer that neither Jack or Tony can't offer other people to. So, that's me being vulnerable. That's me putting it on the table as to what that one has been. And, I think that's something that a lot of people would go through as well. So hopefully it helps.
So I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable as well. I'm just going to go out there and I'll tell you about one of my limiting beliefs. I'm actually still at the moment trying to get over, and it's my voice. I've never really liked my voice. I think it might be the accent. I've had lots and lots of people take the mickey out of my accent, and I don't understand you. You talk too fast. What was it you said? And all my life I've had, people always having a go about my accent. So I've never really felt particularly comfortable or particularly confident about it. And therefore, for a lot of my life, I've kept quite quiet. I know, hard to believe now, isn't it? But I have. I would never normally be the first person to, speak to a room full of people. And this was something that I just wanted to get past because, actually there's nothing wrong with my voice. It's, good as voice, a good as accent as anybody else's. So over the last couple of years, I've been really trying my best to actually come out from that limiting belief and actually talk more openly, start conversations and, do things like public speaking, and really put myself in a position where I really had to sort of like feel the fear and do it anyway. And I hate watching her videos back because I don't like my voice, but I've actually become a lot more comfortable with the fact that, it's not a bad accent. I can hopefully speak fairly articulately, and, that's something that I've just got to start getting over. So I start now sort of saying, you can speak on a public forum, you can go on, Zoom and Teams and do things like this and just be your authentic self. And someone will love your voice, even though you don't like it. Someone out there will love it. So, just go with it and, just go on and get past it. So that's something that I'm still working through even today.
Yeah, so you know what we all need to do? The support. So in the comments, come on, it's fine. It's fine. It really it's great. I like the accent. So come on, everyone in the comments, throw your support behind Allie and a great accent. Yeah. Okay.
So we really look forward to and thank you for yours. And we really look forward to getting into part 2 with you next week, which is going to be the really exciting part about this, about how can you start working on addressing your limiting beliefs, make them empowering beliefs, and how can you actually keep enforcing the new language that you use with yourself so that your empowering beliefs start to eradicate those limiting beliefs and they become something new, something stronger. So really looking forward to going through that with you next week. And as always, please subscribe to our channel. Please like and share if you think it's worth liking and sharing. And we really look forward to catching up with you again next time.
Yeah, and enjoy and bring your homework. So bring the beliefs forward into the next one.
I'll bring mine. I'll bring mine.
All right, enjoy.
Great. Nice to see you all. Bye.